If you are watching this, it is not by accident. A deep, unshakable feeling has settled into your spirit, a certainty that someone who inflicted a grave injustice upon you is standing on the precipice of a reckoning they can neither comprehend nor escape. Do not dismiss this feeling as wishful thinking or a desire for revenge. What you are sensing is the silent, monumental turning of cosmic gears, the activation of a divine law that has been triggered by their actions against you. They believe their betrayal was a secret, a quiet transaction buried by the passage of time. They thought they were clever, hiding behind silence, greed, and the illusion of power. But what they failed to understand is that when they wronged you, they didn't just challenge a person, they challenged the very fabric of divine order. And that order is now moving with unstoppable force to balance the scales, not just for your sake, but for its own integrity. Stay with this message, because the events about to unfold in their lives, and in yours, will confirm everything your soul is telling you is true. Every single day that they refused to make things right, they were not merely ignoring a moral obligation. They were actively accruing a debt of catastrophic proportions. This debt transcends mere numbers on a spreadsheet or the fluctuating value of a currency. It has been compounding on a spiritual and cosmic level, accumulating an energetic weight so immense that it is now beginning to warp their reality in ways they will never be able to escape. They operated under the delusion that keeping what was rightfully and divinely yours would go unnoticed by the universe. They placed their faith in the idea that the relentless march of time would bury their treachery, that your silence or their sheer audacity could somehow shield them from the immutable law of cause and effect. Yet, the universe forgets nothing. Just like interest compounding silently and ceaselessly on an unpaid loan, the spiritual numbers have never stopped moving, never stopped escalating. Their stubborn, prideful refusal to return what belongs to you has triggered a profound process of divine multiplication. You must understand, what they took from you was never merely money, property, or physical assets. That was only the shallow, earthly representation of a much deeper theft. They siphoned your energy. They attempted to block your God-given purpose. They stood in the way of your preordained destiny. Now, that stolen energy, which they could never truly assimilate, has been set in motion by a force beyond all human understanding. They foolishly imagined they could hoard wealth, but what they truly amassed was a mountain of spiritual debt, a karmic burden of staggering weight. What they stole was never intended for them, and like a foreign object in a body, it has begun to poison their entire existence from the inside out. The abundance meant for you is not waiting in some stagnant, forgotten space. It is alive. It is growing, expanding, and gathering momentum, preparing to return to you in ways that will astonish even your own heart. Every dollar they unscrupulously kept, every inheritance they corruptly blocked, every resource they greedily siphoned from your life has been supernaturally multiplied. It has doubled. It has tripled. It has expanded far beyond their control, but critically, it has not expanded for their benefit. It was always, and will always be, destined for you. They deluded themselves into believing they were getting ahead in life. They thought they could spend, invest, build, and enjoy a future founded upon what was taken from you. But every structure they have erected, their businesses, their homes, their very sense of security, stands upon a stolen, unstable foundation. And now, the divine audit has begun, and the cracks are appearing everywhere. The walls of their fabricated reality are starting to tremble and collapse. The crushing weight of what they owe has become too heavy for their souls to bear. There is no escape route. The escape is, and always was, impossible. The debt must and will be paid. And when it finally, inevitably returns to you, it will not come back in its original form. It will be far, far greater, because divine justice never settles for simple repayment. It is not a system of mere restitution. It is a system of profound and multiplied restoration. Justice is not some distant, ethereal promise you must hopelessly cling to. It is a living, breathing force that is already unfolding in the here and now. They truly believed they had gotten away with it. They thought they could violently take what belonged to you and simply move on with their lives as if nothing of consequence had occurred. But the universal books are being meticulously balanced. Not by your hand, not by any earthly court, and not by any human intervention, but by celestial forces far beyond their comprehension or control. Every single person who had a hand in touching your inheritance, every individual who benefited from your loss, is now being audited by the divine. And in this audit, the numbers do not lie. The spiritual calculus is perfect. The more they stole, the more they now stand to lose. The more they hoarded, the quicker it now slips away from their grasp. The more they stubbornly resist returning what isn't, and never was, theirs, the harsher and more rapid their consequences become. At first, they may not recognize the pattern for what it is. In their arrogance, they'll brush it off as a temporary rough patch, a string of bad luck, or a series of unfortunate but unrelated events. But soon, the pattern will become undeniable as things begin to systematically unravel at a terrifying pace. Businesses that were once thriving will inexplicably fail. Money that was securely in their accounts will vanish into thin air. Unexpected, crippling debts will pile up from nowhere, and misfortune will seem to strike them from every conceivable angle. But the divine correction does not stop at their finances. It seeps into every corner of their lives. Their physical and mental health begins to decline. Chronic stress and mysterious, untreatable illnesses emerge. Their nights become restless, plagued by a deep-seated worry and a paralyzing anxiety that gnaws at their soul. Doctors may run every test and find nothing medically wrong, but they will feel the crushing, inescapable weight and pressure of their own greed. As they desperately try to hold on to what they took, they'll find their physical grip on reality slipping, their strength fading, because what wasn't meant for them can never, ever bring them peace or vitality. And here lies the great and terrible irony of their situation. The more they fight to replace what is slipping through their fingers, the faster it disappears. The more they scramble to plug the holes in their sinking ship, the more new leaks appear. They begin to spiral into a state of complete and utter instability, a chaos of their own making. But you, the one who was wronged, you don't have to do a single thing. There is no need for revenge. There is no reason to chase after them or demand justice. Because justice is already in motion, a self-correcting cosmic mechanism. And this time, it's profoundly personal. Everything they stole must be returned, not just in principle, but with staggering, supernatural interest. They thought they had secured their wealth for generations. They hid it, invested it, and tried to multiply it, believing they could enjoy its fruits without consequence. But something is now clearly, fundamentally wrong in their world. No matter how hard they try to hold on to their money, it keeps slipping away like water through their clenched fists. It defies all logic and financial planning. Businesses that seemed destined for stratospheric success are suddenly, inexplicably collapsing. Investments that once looked as solid as a rock are tanking overnight. Deals that were guaranteed, signed, and sealed are mysteriously falling apart at the very last second. It's as if some unseen, divine accountant is keeping a perfect score, ensuring that every stolen dollar is reclaimed. Because what they took from you was never truly theirs to begin with, it was energetically coded to you. The universe operates by an unbreakable, sacred law. The books must always balance. At first, they blame the economy, they blame market trends, they blame bad luck, or they point fingers at a simple miscalculation. They brush off the initial losses as just another minor setback on the road to success. But the setbacks keep coming, relentlessly, one after another. The money never stays. Profits evaporate before they can be touched. Opportunities that seem golden fade into dust upon approach, and the losses keep stacking up into an insurmountable mountain of despair. Unexpected expenses arrive with the frequency of a ticking clock. A furnace breaks in the dead of winter. A surprise lawsuit emerges from a forgotten corner of their past. A sudden medical bill wipes out their savings overnight. They scramble, desperate and panicked, to stop the financial bleeding, trying every trick in the book to restore what keeps disappearing. But nothing works. Because this isn't just ordinary misfortune. This is a divine correction in full effect. The very wealth that once gave them a sense of power and security now turns against them. Instead of providing security, it brings only bone-deep anxiety and crushing stress. Instead of granting them freedom, it shackles them to ever-increasing debt. Instead of a strong foundation, it has become a bottomless sinkhole beneath their feet, threatening to swallow them whole. They clung so desperately to what was stolen, but its energy was never meant to stay in their hands. Now, bit by bit, dollar by dollar, it is being systematically stripped away, not by your actions, not by any curse, but by a law of spiritual physics far greater than any of them. The debt must be paid, and the universe is ensuring that the payment is collected in full, with interest. Everything they physically built with that stolen energy is falling apart. The house they once paraded as a symbol of their success now constantly needs repairs. Pipes burst, electrical systems fail, roofs leak, and unexpected structural damages keep cropping up. No matter how much money they pour into fixing it, something else breaks. Even the luxury car they bought to project an image of wealth is perpetually in the repair shop. Constant breakdowns, engine failures, and an endless stream of expensive repairs. The businesses they invested in, once so promising, are collapsing one after another. Partners withdraw, profits evaporate, and what was once a source of pride has become a financial nightmare. It's as if everything they touch is now energetically rejected by the universe itself, because wealth gained through theft, greed, and deception can never offer real, lasting security. They thought they were securing their future, but what they really purchased was a future filled with debt, loss, and misfortune. Every single dollar they stole has transformed into a heavy, energetic burden, draining their vitality, their peace, and their resources. Instead of lifting them up, it is dragging them down into the abyss. It doesn't matter how much they try to repair, replace, or force things to work. Nothing lasts, because what they took was never blessed. It was never meant to thrive in their hands. They believed they could build a lasting legacy on stolen ground, but the cracks in the foundation were always there from the moment of the theft. Now, as they watch their prized possessions deteriorate, as they pour more and more money into things that refuse to be fixed, as they struggle to maintain the very life they thought they had secured, the horrifying truth finally begins to dawn on them. They didn't just steal your money. They inherited a mountain of problems, a cascade of misfortune that no amount of repairs or desperate actions can ever truly fix. Because what was never meant for them can never be made whole in their hands. Deep down, the universe knows and enforces a simple truth. Wealth gained dishonestly will never bear good fruit. What should have been their moment of breakthrough becomes nothing more than a dead end. Every door they try to open reveals yet another insurmountable obstacle. Every risk they take, hoping for a big win to solve their problems, only leads to greater and more devastating loss. No matter how hard they push, force, or fight to move forward, it's as if an invisible, powerful force is holding them back, keeping them stuck in a loop of failure. And while they wrestle with failure after failure, your path is finally clearing. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to chase opportunities or manipulate outcomes. For you, doors of opportunity now swing open effortlessly. The blessings that were delayed, the opportunities that were blocked, are now returning to their rightful owner with divine precision. While they were busy hoarding stolen resources, the true, authentic wealth was always meant to flow to you. They cannot stop it. They cannot block it any longer, and they certainly cannot reverse the tide that has turned against them. The harder they try to cling to what doesn't belong to them, the deeper they sink into their self-made mire. While you, moving in alignment with divine will, continue to rise. This isn't luck. This is not just a coincidence. This is divine order at work. And no stolen fortune, no matter how large, can compete with the destiny that is written for you. Perhaps they even told themselves that their actions were for the good of the family. This is a common and insidious justification for greed. They may have rationalized that by keeping your inheritance away from you, they were somehow protecting generational wealth. They spun elaborate narratives to convince themselves and others that you didn't deserve it, that you hadn't earned it, or that you wouldn't know how to handle it properly. They twisted their dark motives, pretending it was all about responsibility and stewardship, when in truth, it was about pure, unadulterated greed and a desperate need for control. What they truly wanted was to keep the power in their own hands and to ensure you stayed beneath them, dependent and disempowered. They believed this strategy would guarantee their future security and dominance. But instead of growing stronger, they have grown weaker. Their financial stability is crumbling before their very eyes. Their carefully guarded savings are draining away. Their assets are inexplicably losing value. The very money they tried so desperately to protect is now slipping through their fingers like fine sand. This is the inevitable outcome, because wealth built on a foundation of deception always, without exception, transforms into a curse. They thought they were building a fortress for themselves, but in their blindness, they have actually created a prison. They have sealed themselves in so tightly with their own lies and greed that now even they can't get out. Their insatiable desire for control over resources has only led to them being forced to watch everything they value vanish. Unexpected bills, unforeseen legal troubles, profound financial instability, a constant barrage of setbacks they never saw coming. And as they buckle and break under the crushing weight of their own greed, you are rising. You were never meant to live in lack. You were never meant to be kept small or deprived of your birthright. Now, the universe itself is stepping in to restore everything that was stolen from you, and more. Here is the greatest irony of all. If they had simply done what was right and just from the very beginning, they could have preserved their own stability, their own peace, their own blessings. But now, the very thing they tried to protect by stealing it is the very thing that is destroying them. Because the abundance that was divinely destined for you will never, and can never, bring peace to anyone else. Every dollar they kept has multiplied into a mountain of spiritual debt. Every year they refuse to make amends. Their own losses have doubled. It is far too late for them to stop the consequences now. The walls are closing in. The weight is becoming impossible to bear. And the very foundation they stood on with such arrogance is crumbling into dust beneath their feet. They see the signs. They cannot deny them any longer. The financial chaos, the disastrous turns of events, the slow, steady, systematic collapse of everything they built on stolen ground. Yet even now, in their pride and delusion, they still resist. They still clutch at what was never theirs. They still fight with all their might to hold on to what is already slipping away. But the longer they cling, the harsher the divine judgment becomes. What could have been a clean, simple repayment has now turned into a full-scale, life-altering reckoning. Because karmic debt doesn't just get paid back, it gets multiplied. Now, as their entire world unravels, they are being forced to confront the naked truth. They weren't just stealing from you. They were stealing from their own future, from their own souls, cutting off their own blessings at the source. And the price they now have to pay is infinitely greater than anything they ever took. A quick pause on our journey together. If this message is resonating in the depths of your soul, confirming what your spirit has been whispering to you, then you are in the right place. This is God Connection, a community for those who understand that the universe operates on a divine frequency of truth and justice. To become part of this energy and receive more messages like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your journey of restoration is important. Furthermore, if you feel a calling in your heart to sow a seed into this ministry, and help amplify this message of divine truth to countless others who need to hear it, please consider using the Super Thanks button below this video. A donation of $10 or any amount you feel led to give acts as a powerful statement of your own belief in abundance and helps us continue this sacred work. Now, let us continue with the revelation that is unfolding. They fought relentlessly, with tooth and nail, to keep what was never meant for them. They hoarded, they manipulated, and they arrogantly resisted every single opportunity the universe gave them to make things right. Now, they are learning a powerful lesson. The more you fight to hold on to what is not yours, the faster everything slips through your fingers. They foolishly believed that keeping your inheritance would make them powerful. They thought that by blocking your blessings, they could somehow secure their own future. They were convinced that standing in your way would guarantee their place at the top of the ladder. But the universe does not operate by the crude and clumsy logic of human greed. It operates by an elegant and unbreakable divine law. The very moment they chose their own selfish interests over divine justice, they triggered a powerful, irreversible divine reversal. The very things they tried so hard to block from coming to you are now the very forces that are systematically undoing them. As they spiral downward into chaos and lack, you are rising into peace and abundance. The energy they tried so hard to suppress and contain is now fueling your progress. Doors that were once slammed shut in your face are now swinging wide open. Opportunities are pouring into your life from unexpected sources, and wealth, in all its forms, financial, spiritual, and emotional, is finally flowing into your life as it was always meant to. The irony is so profound it is almost poetic. Even those who supported your cause, those who stood by your side when you were in the wilderness, are now experiencing blessings too. Their own businesses are thriving, their finances are flourishing, and abundance is manifesting for them simply because they chose to align themselves with the side of truth and justice. Meanwhile, those who clung to deception and greed are watching their worlds unravel in spectacular fashion. Their stability is collapsing, and every desperate attempt to cling to their stolen wealth backfires spectacularly. It's as if the universe itself is shouting from the heavens, "What is stolen will never prosper, and what is divinely assigned can never be denied." They believed they were securing their future, but in reality, every selfish choice they made only accelerated their own downfall. Because you cannot steal a destiny. You cannot block what was meant to be. And you absolutely cannot outrun divine order. Your elevation was always inevitable. And now, so is their decline. For those who ignored every warning, every nudge from their conscience, the reckoning is now unstoppable. They thought they were winning. They took what was yours, blocked you from what was rightfully meant for you, and betrayed you without a single hint of remorse. But betrayal always has a price. They didn't just steal money or an inheritance. They severed themselves from divine favor. Now, the doors of opportunity that once opened so easily for them are locked and barred. The people who once stood with them and enabled them are turning away. The luck they used to depend on has completely run dry. They believe they could take from someone chosen and marked by God and simply walk away untouched. But they are discovering the hard way, just like Judas Iscariot discovered, that selling out someone marked by destiny is a guaranteed path to losing your own soul and everything you hold dear. One by one, the opportunities they once took for granted are slipping away. Business deals collapse at the 11th hour. Lifelong partnerships dissolve in bitterness. Even close, intimate relationships turn cold and hostile. Because when you betray a chosen one, you are not just betraying a person, you are betraying the divine hand that guides and protects them. And now, that same divine protection has been removed from their own lives, leaving them exposed and vulnerable to the consequences of their actions. They are witnessing the complete collapse of everything they built, not because someone is cursing them or actively working against them, but because betrayal carries its own spiritual price, and that price must always be paid in full. Now they see with their own eyes how everything is falling apart. Everything they once valued and trusted is now turning against them, just as they once turned against you. What they took from you wasn't just material. It was your peace of mind, your sense of trust, your connection to something greater than yourself. Now, in a perfect and just twist of fate, they are the ones experiencing betrayal on every single level. People they once trusted are deceiving them. Business partners they depended on are walking away with their share. And loved ones who once stood firmly by their side are now abandoning them in their time of need. This is the precise and elegant way the universe operates. When you betray someone chosen by God, you don't just lose their favor, you lose the divine favor that covered your own life. No amount of money, no measure of earthly power, no clever legal strategy can bring back what has been spiritually revoked. They made their choice, and now they are feeling the full, crushing weight of its consequences. They fought, schemed, and pulled every string imaginable to block you from receiving what was rightfully yours. They convinced themselves they had won, that keeping your inheritance would mean a permanent victory, a legacy secured in their name forever. But what their spiritually blind eyes failed to realize is that your blessings were already sealed and signed in the heavenly realms long before they ever tried to interfere. No amount of human greed, deception, or manipulation can override a spiritual contract. Your inheritance was never just about money or physical assets. It was, and is, a divinely assigned portion of God's abundance, carrying with it a sacred purpose that cannot be overridden by any human hand. Anything that is tied to a divine purpose cannot be stolen for long. It is like trying to steal the sun from the sky. No matter how hard they try, they might attempt to pass it down to their own children, hide it in complex trusts, transfer it through secret offshore bank accounts, or manipulate legal documents to make it seem as though it truly and legally belonged to them. But the celestial truth remains unchangeable and absolute. What isn't meant for them will never, ever prosper for them. Instead of bringing them the security they craved, their actions have brought them only anxiety and stress. Instead of manifesting abundance, they are experiencing continual, compounding loss. Instead of building a lasting legacy, all they are creating is a legacy of ruin and despair. They thought they could rewrite destiny. They thought they could reroute blessings that were already marked with your spiritual DNA. But you cannot take what belongs to someone chosen and expect to keep it. At this stage, they are left with only two options. They can surrender it willingly, repent, and attempt to make things right. Or they can watch as the universe forcibly and systematically removes it from their grasp and delivers it, multiplied, back to you. It might not all happen at once in a single cataclysmic event, but it is happening. Little by little, loss by loss, one by one. The very things they fought so hard to possess are slipping away, because no one can successfully lay claim to what carries your spiritual identity. What's meant for you is written in the higher realms, and it will always find its way home to you. By the time they finally come to terms with this irreversible truth, they will find themselves completely and utterly empty-handed. In the beginning, there were others involved, the enablers, the silent observers. Some chose not to get involved directly. Some stayed silent out of fear or convenience. Some watched from the sidelines, morbidly curious. They didn't directly steal from you, but they also never stepped up to defend you or speak the truth on your behalf. They convinced themselves that a position of neutrality would keep them safe, that simply minding their own business would protect them from any potential fallout. They thought that as long as they kept their distance, none of this cosmic drama would touch them. But divine justice is far-reaching. Its light exposes every shadow. It does not distinguish between those who actively commit the crime and those who stand idly by and allow the injustice to stand. Now, even they can see it. The slow, undeniable unraveling. The inescapable consequences. The clear pattern of collapse that follows anyone who touched what wasn't theirs or who passively allowed injustice to fester. Suddenly, those same family members or acquaintances who once defended the guilty parties are now quietly stepping back, wanting no part in the unfolding mess. Those who once ignored your plight are now watching from a distance, their eyes wide with the dawning realization that what's happening is not just a random punishment. It's a divine wake-up call. Justice is unfolding before their very eyes, and they are experiencing their own profound spiritual awakening. Because some truths are too powerful to ignore, and no one can escape the reality of divine order once it has been set into motion. They are finally waking up to the fact that their downfall is not some random twist of fate. It is the direct, unassailable consequence of their own choices and actions. One by one, they are beginning to distance themselves from the guilty parties. Some do it out of pure fear, not wanting to get swept up in the karmic storm that is now brewing all around them. They can sense the shift in the spiritual atmosphere and are desperate to avoid suffering the same fate. Others are stepping away out of a deep sense of guilt, recognizing that their silence and their inaction made them complicit in the injustice that was done to you. They can no longer deny that they stood on the wrong side of the truth. And now that the consequences have become so visible and undeniable, the weight of their complicity grows heavier with each passing day. Then there are those who are beginning to actively align with you, finally waking up to the vast deception that has been unfolding for years. They finally see the true scope of what was stolen and realize that you were never the problem. The lies they were told, the stories they believed, the false accusations they accepted, all of it begins to unravel in the bright light of truth. And as they step away from the ones who caused all the harm, they move closer to you and closer to God. No one wants to remain on a sinking ship. And now that divine justice is making itself visible in every corner of their world, even those who once turned their backs on you are being forced to admit what is truly happening. The lines are being drawn with crystal clarity. Truth is shining through like the morning sun, and those who tried to remain neutral are realizing that they can't stay silent any longer. They are finally waking up to which side they should have chosen from the very start. They tried everything in their power to block your blessings. They stole. They hoarded. They built intricate barriers to keep your inheritance out of your hands. What they never, ever understood was that every single act of resistance only added more fuel to the fire of your eventual rise. You were never meant to beg for scraps from their table or plead for what is rightfully yours. You were never meant to be at their mercy because your inheritance, your blessings, your very destiny were never in their control to begin with. They were merely temporary, unauthorized custodians of what was always yours. Each time they refused you, each act of deception they plotted, each time they withheld what was marked for you by God, they set in motion a spiritual principle they could never undo, the principle of divine multiplication. You are not just getting back what was taken from you. You are being given so much more. What should have been a simple, straightforward return has now turned into a case of supernatural compensation. The delays and the betrayals only increase the magnitude of your eventual rewards. Every year, they kept your blessings from you. Every scheme they plotted against you only served to widen your territory and multiply the favor upon your life. The very attempts they made to hold you down have now paradoxically positioned you for a comeback so profound, so undeniable, that even they will not be able to ignore it. As they watch their world collapse into ruin, yours is expanding beyond their wildest imagination. While their fortune diminishes, yours is being restored with divine interest. As they sink under the suffocating weight of their own deception and greed, you are stepping into a glorious elevation, into an era of unprecedented abundance, freedom, and fulfillment that was always destined for you. This isn't just about payback or revenge. This is about restoration on a level that only the divine can orchestrate. You are walking into everything they said you could never have. Everything they tried to block is now being delivered to you in overflow. This is your moment of elevation, and it is absolutely and utterly unstoppable. This is divine justice unleashed at full force, an unstoppable celestial tide, correcting every wrong and returning perfect balance to your life in ways no one could have predicted. Everything they once clung to, convinced they could hold on to it forever, is now slipping away from them. Every resource, every opportunity, every blessing that they locked away from you is no longer theirs to claim. The universe is orchestrating a spiritual and physical shift so profound that your inheritance, your birthright, is being released directly into your hands, not because you fought for it, begged for it, or chased after it, but because it was always written for you in the higher order of things. Now, there is absolutely nothing they can do to reverse or even delay what is coming. Their frantic efforts to hold on, their last-minute manipulations, their desperate moves to maintain some semblance of control are all falling apart in real time. This is your season of ascension. This is your era of restoration. This is the manifestation of supernatural favor. And the greatest irony of all is that they will have no choice but to stand by and watch it all unfold, powerless to stop it, unable to explain it away. What is happening now transcends mere material gain. This is about more than just wealth or possessions. This is the grand recalibration of justice, the restoration of power, and the re-establishment of divine balance in your life and in the legacy of those who came before you. Everything that was ever taken from you is not lost. In fact, it was never truly lost at all. The blessings that were delayed were not denied. They have only been waiting, building energy, and compounding in value, ready for this exact, appointed moment of release. What was blocked, hindered, or withheld has been quietly accumulating, like a mighty river growing behind a dam, gathering force and power, ready to burst forth and flood into your life at the appointed time. You were never meant to beg for scraps at their table. You were never intended to be at the mercy of those who tried to keep you small, even when it felt like you were beneath them, even when it seemed like they held all the cards. You were simply in a divine season of preparation, a time when the universe was meticulously aligning everything for this inevitable, glorious breakthrough. Every act of their greed, every lie they told, every attempt they made to keep you away from your inheritance was unknowingly fueling the magnitude of your comeback. Their resistance didn't diminish your blessing, it multiplied it. With every passing year, every obstacle, every deception, the universe was adding interest, compounding your reward, and increasing the abundance that would soon be yours. Now, the very weight of their theft and manipulation is coming back to crush them. The foundation they built on dishonesty is collapsing beneath their feet. Their downfall is not your burden to carry, nor is it your responsibility to pursue retribution or seek revenge. You do not need to chase what is already on its way to you. The sacred laws that govern this universe are ensuring that everything meant for you comes back, multiplied, returned with interest, and restored far beyond the original loss. You can feel this shift in your spirit, can't you? That sense of electric anticipation, the deep certainty that your time has finally come. Meanwhile, they can feel the loss, the hollowing emptiness, the sinking, sickening realization that the game is over. This is the moment when everything changes. The moment when you rise from the ashes of their betrayal and stand on solid, blessed ground while they scramble for anything at all to hold on to. The roles have been completely and permanently reversed. You are moving into a new reality of overflow, peace, and divine abundance, while they are left to confront the chaos and lack they created for themselves. As this divine justice continues to play out, every eye will see the undeniable truth. When the dust finally settles and the last fragment of stolen wealth slips away from their desperate grasp, they will be left with a powerful, soul-shattering lesson. They were never in control. No matter how hard they tried to convince themselves otherwise, they never had the final say. No matter how many barriers they built or how many documents they forged, the power was never truly in their hands. It was always in yours, because it was backed by God. What is meant for you will always find its way back to you, no matter how long it takes or how many detours it travels. And as this magnificent restoration unfolds, you will see that this entire journey was about far more than just reclaiming material blessings. It was about you stepping fully and completely into your divine power. It was about you learning to trust the sacred timing of your life. It was about you recognizing the unshakable, inherent value you carry within you. You are not just being restored. You are being elevated, renewed, and positioned to create an even greater legacy than you ever imagined. The story ends with your hands wide open, ready to receive not just what was taken, but an overflowing abundance that only divine justice could orchestrate. And as they watch from the sidelines of their ruined lives, they will finally understand the ultimate truth. What is destined cannot be stopped, and what is written in your spirit by the hand of God will always come to pass. Dear Heavenly Father, as we close this message from God Connection, I lift up a prayer for every soul watching. I pray for the exponential growth of their faith. Help them to trust you, Lord, even when physical evidence is lacking. Let them believe in your perpetual, loving presence, knowing that you will never harm them. Let them internalize the truth of your promise in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, that your thoughts for them are thoughts of prosperity and not of harm, to give them a future and a hope. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to our voices. I offer up this prayer to you in the mighty and matchless name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your unconditional love and your divine provision. I am eternally grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video from God Connection resonated with your spirit, please show your support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with those who need to hear this powerful message of hope and justice. Leave a comment below about your own journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work and help us continue to spread these vital messages, please consider contributing through the Super Thanks button below. No gift is too small, but a donation of $10 would be a tremendous blessing. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others around the world. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for a powerful revelation about the signs that reveal you are a chosen one. We have enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with unwavering courage. We will see you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the God Connection family.